you.
Alright, there's my audience. There's the TV. Okay. And there's Kelsey.
Okay. Thank you all for being here. And today I would like to speak to you about somebody that has been not influential up until the point that I began researching this project. When I was tasked with looking at the list of artists, many of them I knew, some of them I hadn't heard. And when I was speaking to my mom and my aunt about the project, one name that leaped off the list, and my aunt agreed I should take a look into, was Leonora Carrington. Now, many people believe in nature versus nurture. And Leonora Carrington is someone that was born believing she was the person she was when she was born. She's been quoted stating, I was made when I was born. And in researching her life, that has become very abundantly clear that she has been the person she was when she was born all the way up until her passing. Now, Leonora Carrington was born in 1917, and she was born to a very wealthy family. Her father was nouveau riche, new money in textiles, and they had a very traditional. She was born in England, and they had a very traditional idea of what her life should be. That she should become a debutante and go to charter schools and Catholic schools, and Leonora had a different vision for her life. She went to 3 different Catholic and charter schools, and she was expelled from all of them. And it was stated that the nuns and all of the administration in the schools had a very different opinion than Leonora did. Now, she was expelled from those schools, and what they were stating was that she had antisocial tendencies and supernatural proclivities. So, from a young age, Leonora's mother and her nanny had introduced to her Celtic mythology, supernatural stories, and began her interest into the occult and supernatural um, beings that have influenced her art. And throughout all of her paintings and sculptures and writings, she has a supernatural type style to her art where she influences witchcraft, animalistic, and different religions that have influenced her through her life. Now, when Leonora had been kicked out of all of the different schools, her parents finally sent her to an art school. And when she came back, she was introduced to the surrealist artist Max Ernst. And Max Ernst was a surrealist artist from Germany. And it was at the time of the war that Leonora and him were introduced. And they gravitated towards each other, even though Max was married and Leonora was 20 years his senior. Or he was 20 years her senior. And so once they met, they were attracted to each other and couldn't grow apart. So when Leonora's family found out about it, her father told her that she needed to end the relationship. She couldn't be with him or she would not get any money. And so she decided to run away with Max to France. Now, in France, at the height of the war, Max was from Germany, and so he was seen by the French as a German sympathizer. But he was also seen by the Germans because of his artwork as not ideal in their eyes either. So he was in prison not once but twice, and so he was taken captive and left Leonora in a farmhouse by herself. And so in that farmhouse, she began to kind of lose her mind a little bit, kind of experiencing the separation from her life and from Max. And so she was then put in an asylum where they tested drugs on her that caused her to have convulsions and seizures, and she went through many different types of treatment. And she was stated that her only escape during that time was to go up on the roof and look at the stars. And so many of her artwork is influenced by the dark times and a lot of the influence she had during that time in the asylum. So when she was released from the asylum, she was on her way back to England when she made a last minute escape towards um, the Mexican embassy where she knew a diplomat. And so the diplomat agreed to marry her and have her leave to Mexico with him. And so off she went to Mexico. And in Mexico, she met many other surrealist artists like Frida Kahlo, um, and kind of helped create her love and further dived into surrealism art. And so a lot of her work is influenced by her time in Mexico. And so when she was in Mexico, she was quoted as still being the same person she was, having this outrageously fun personality, but she was also kind of strange. Some people stated that she would cut off their hair when they were staying with her, and she would serve it up to them in omelets the next morning. And so she just always was the person she was through everything that she went through, even the heartbreak, the troubles. She just maintained her quirky and interesting personality. And while she was in Mexico, she did a lot of this artwork, and you can see throughout it that it's got supernatural creatures and it's got kind of a dark tone to it, but the surrealism in it is something that I really have kind of gravitated towards and really appreciated, because when I look at her artwork, it's not just right first glance, you take it all in, you have to look at it a couple of times. And it presents a lot of different occult and mythological and mysterious um, graphics in it. So Leonora lived in Mexico up until her death. She left her and the Mexican diplomat did not stay married, but she married a Hungarian painter, and they had two children. And up until her death, she was the same person she always was, with a little bit of reclusiveness, but still steadfast in her beliefs and continuing to produce paintings that were beautiful, but hauntingly dark to represent the life and the troubles that she had had. So something that I took from Leonora Carrington is that you can go through all of these troubles and all these difficult things in life, but you can always maintain true to yourself and be the person that you want to be and produce great artwork. And this is just the last little bit of her artwork and some of her most famous paintings. I think that's it. Thank you.